one of the first thing was you mentioned being honest with yourself. And I do think that one of the great things about psychedelics is they kind of force you to be honest with yourself.
Right.
It's often been said that they sort of put up a mirror to who you are right now. So there is that aspect, I think, is really important, this idea of self-confrontation. I think that's also one of the reasons people can be a bit trepidatious or anxious.
And also because it's not necessarily a clear mirror, right? The message you might get back is one that you should take with great importance, but it's often not going to be a message where it's like, oh yeah, I got that. I can just translate that into my life immediately. It's all very, very clear. And the experience, of course, is taking place largely imagistically. And like, I suppose, growth and development in life, being honest with yourself is something that takes time. And so the feedback you get is something that you have to work with.
Yeah, so coming to your point of responsibility as well, going back to that journal article, the importance of context in psychedelic experience, there was a call out by the researcher Robin Carhart-Harris for the psychedelic community, because we are at this point where that boulder is starting to roll down the hill. We are at this turning point. There is still a risk that something could go very wrong in the trial and these medicines could be delayed, or there is a risk that people become increasingly concerned about deaths at Rainbow Serpent, which are very rarely, if ever caused by a psychedelic. They may be implicated in a combination of many drugs, but the safety profile of psychedelics is incomparable to really any other substance.
So safety profiles is one core differentiating feature. And there's good information on this. I can't point you in the direction of that right now. I know
David Nutt, who will be here in Melbourne next week, did the famous comparison of the harm of drugs study for the British government, which he was acting as the advisor for drugs to the British government at that point, and after which he was fired for basically telling the truth, which was psilocybin and MDMA were fairly harmless, and drugs that that society at least consumes very regularly, like alcohol and tobacco, were right on the other end of the scale, at the most dangerous, in the same ballpark as heroin and crack cocaine. So that's something we can be aware of, that psychedelics are safe for the body. But as you said, responsibility and the mind and setting. So back to that journal article, there was a call out by Robin Carhart-Harris for the psychedelic community, for those of us who have already experienced or who will experience or who are going to take psychedelics. I've often thought about the responsibility of the rule breaker. I first discovered it at a Vipassana. Well, it's probably not true, but I first became truly aware of it at a Vipassana retreat where I really wanted to write. At Vipassana, I'm not sure if you're aware, it's a very strict. You have to wake up and go to sleep at certain times, eat at certain times, no talking at all, no form of communication. You look down at the ground because, 10 days of silence, an eye gaze can ricochet in the mind if you've been quiet for 6-7 days with no interaction. So you have to be very careful with how you affect others. And I really wanted to write. You're not meant to write. I was having some really profound thoughts, and I thought I might lose them. And so I thought, okay, maybe at nighttime I'll write in my book under the covers. So I thought, actually, there's a scratching noise of the pen might be heard by the girl in the bed over the curtain, and maybe that will confuse her. Maybe I want to write, or that person's breaking the rules. What does that mean for me? So I ended up writing in the shower at Vipassana. I tell this story because it made me realize the responsibility of the rule breaker, and that is, if you break rules, you better break them like they didn't need to be there in the first place.